Morning, Chad with the Word and Coffee. I've got my daughter with me today. It's Saturday morning, so we generally try to spend some time together on Saturdays. So she's going to be helping me out this morning. We're in Genesis chapter 5. We talked yesterday about Genesis chapter 4. We looked at the story of Cain and Abel and how sin affected the first family on earth. And the very first brothers that were created by the first man and woman, the perfect man and woman, who had, of course, already sinned by that point, but just how that sin affects them and how it affects us. I'm going to read in Genesis chapter 5 just a few verses, and then we'll go from there. This is the book of the genealogy of Adam. In the day that God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. He created them male and female and blessed them and called them mankind in the day that they were created. And Adam lived 130 years and begot a son in his own likeness, after his image, and named him Seth. After he begot Seth, the days of Adam were 800 years, and he had sons and daughters. So all the days of Adam were 930 years, and he died. So, you know anybody who's 930 years old?
Adam.
Do you know anybody that's 930 years old, though, right now?
No.
It's pretty crazy when we start reading this. We see these incredibly long periods of time that people lived, and we have some ideas about maybe why that happened. God had a firmament. We read in Genesis chapter 1 and how he created this firmament over the earth. And we believe that maybe during the flood of Noah, that firmament, which was water in the sky, it fell. You remember when we went to Kentucky to the Ark Encounter, and we learned a little bit about that and about what they thought maybe happened. And when that firmament would have fallen, it would have created a flood, and the whole world would have been changed. Continents would have been moved, and mountains would have been raised, and it was just a time of incredible dynamics in the earth. So all of that being said, he created this firmament, and we believe maybe what was going on with that firmament is it kept all the harmful UV rays and radiation away from us here on Earth, away from man, and it gave life the ability to live much longer. God created all this, and He made it perfect. And while sin had started deteriorating everything, it was still created perfect, and it took a while for that sin to actually make it get to the point that it wasn't perfect anymore. Men were living these massive amounts of time. I mean, Methuselah was 969 years old when he died, and even after the flood, Noah and his sons, Shem, is mentioned, and his days were still pretty long, and they just kept getting shorter and shorter. And God used those natural events to accomplish His purpose. He didn't have to use what we consider to be miraculous things as far as saying, okay, snap, man's only going to live, a shorter amount of time. He created a natural order of things, and in our lives, so many times we look for miracles, these supernatural things to happen, for God to answer prayers and to do things. And sometimes He just doesn't. I mean, sometimes healing comes through doctors. Sometimes healing comes through miraculous events. We've heard stories about people who would have an MRI and there's all this cancer and stuff, and they go back and they pray and have a lot of people praying for them and things, and for some reason God chooses just to eradicate the cancer, and they go and have another MRI or go in to have surgery, and the doctors are like, this cancer's gone. And God still does things like that. God still has miracles happen, doesn't He? I mean, they do.
Like when you wake up every morning.
Well, but see, that's what I'm talking about. That's where we're going to, where that's not necessarily miraculous. God put that in order, and while it is something that, as we think about waking up every day from sleep, that just seems routine to us. But God put it into effect. He put it into our natural order of life. And it is miraculous. It is neat that we can lay down, go to sleep, get rested, and our body regenerates, and we wake up and we're ready to go again. That in and of itself is miraculous. The birth of a baby is miraculous. All these things that we see, the sunrise, the gravity itself, the fact we still don't even understand how gravity works. And all of that being said, God put all that stuff into effect, and we kind of take it almost for granted because it is a natural order of things. But God uses that to accomplish His purposes. He doesn't have to feed 5,000 or 4,000 with just a few loaves and a few fish. While that's miraculous and incredible, and God did those things, of course, Jesus raising from the dead and being resurrected, and all the other miracles that happen throughout the Bible, yeah, they were miracles. They were miraculous. They were, incredible events outside of the natural order of things. That's why they were miracles. But even within the natural order of things, God moves us to do things that we need to do. Sometimes things happen that are great, that we don't understand, and they just happen, and it seems like, well, it's just a coincidence. There's no coincidences with God. He orders His purposes for us. Sometimes bad things happen that we perceive as bad and we don't understand, and we might not understand this side of heaven ever, but God uses those things for our good and for His glory, and sometimes to put us back on the right track. Growing up, you got a spanking or two, haven't you?
Don't know what.
Well, you consider it a lot, but it's because we love you, and sometimes we use discipline on you to try to make sure you understand what you're supposed to do. It's not because we're doing something to be mean. It's because your mother and I love you, and we're trying to make sure that you understand what needs to be done. God does those things with us sometimes, and He does it through natural order of things. Sometimes He uses miraculous things. But my point is, as that firmament was in place, and we think that it probably is what kept men living longer and kept so many things out of the earth that were supposed to, that were harmful to man, or could have been harmful. And when it fell, God accomplished His purposes that way in shortening the lifespan of man, and that act that He allowed to happen during the flood to deal with sin changed everything. Sin always has massive consequences, and the massive consequences that we deal with, sometimes, we don't see them here and in this day, but those consequences were related to Jesus' death on the cross a couple of thousand years ago. So anyway, I will leave you with those thoughts. Just go out through your day realizing, God's ordering a purpose in your life. He's got things going in a way, and nothing happens just out of chance. God knows everything that's going to happen, and God uses things to guide us, and He uses things to impress upon us importance. And so just as we go through our lives, just look for those purposes. Thank you, and we will be on Genesis chapter 6. Interesting chapter, a lot going on there, and we'll be on that, Monday. So y'all have a great day.